Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Everybody, welcome to the Children's Harvest for My Little Light 2019. In this sermon, I'll cover obedience for children and for parents setting a positive example for their kids. I will mainly focus on Proverbs 4, verses 1 to 12, and Ephesians 6, verses 1 to 4. Now, can someone please turn to Proverbs 4 and read from verses 1 to 4?
Hear ye children,
Speak up.
Speak up.
the instruction.
Start again.
Hear ye children, the instruction of a father, and attend to no understanding. For I give you good doctrine, forsake ye not my law. For I was my father's son, tender and only beloved in the sight of my mother. He taught me also and said unto me, let thine heart retain my words. Keep my commandments and live.
These verses are saying, listen to your parents. They know best. They're only trying to build you up, to make sure that you go far in life. I know that it's hard to do. We don't always want to listen to everything our parents tell us to do. They're not trying to harm us. They only want to help us. Now, could someone please read Ephesians 6, verses 1 to 3? Can someone please read Ephesians 6, verses 1 to 3?
Children, obey your parents in the Lord, for this is right. Honor thy father and mother, which is the first commandment with promise, that it may be well with thee, and thou mayest live long on the earth.
Amen.
Verse 1 is telling us to obey our parents because it's the right thing to do. Verse 2 makes reference to one of the 10 commandments. Honor thy father and mother so thy days on earth shall be long. This is a very, very important commandment. It is the only one of the 10 commandments that promises long life if it is followed. Now, both of these Bible chapters, they talk and focus about that if you obey your parents, long life will be granted unto you. And kids, it's also very important that you try your absolute best to not commit sins such as lying, stealing, and disobeying your parents. Overall, just make sure to listen to your parents. They always have your best interest at heart. They just want to see you grow. They want to see you shoot for the stars. They just want to see you succeed. Now, the next message that I have is for the parents. I don't want to stand up here and criticize anybody's parenting style, but as a parent, it's your job to lead by example. Don't tell your kids not to drink alcohol if you yourself drink alcohol. Don't tell your kids not to use foul language when you use it. Raise your children in a loving and positive environment. And as a Christian parent, there are 5 key principles that you should follow. Christian parents should train their children in God's word. Can someone please read Proverbs 2, verses 1 to 13?
My son, if thou wilt receive my word, and hide my commandments in thee, so that thou incline thine ear unto wisdom, and apply thine heart to understanding. Yea, if thou criest after knowledge, and liftest up thy voice for understandings, if thou seekest her as silver, and searchest for her as for hid treasures, then thou shalt understand the fear of the Lord, and find the knowledge of God. The Lord giveth wisdom, out of his mouth cometh knowledge and understanding. He layeth up sound wisdom for the righteous. He is a buckler to them that walk uprightly. He keepeth the paths of judgment, and preserveth the way of his saints. Then thou shalt understand righteousness and judgment, and equity, yea, every good path. When wisdom entered into thine heart, and knowledge is pleasant unto thy soul, discretion shall preserve thee, understanding shall keep thee. To deliver thee from the way of the evil man, from the man that speaketh forward things, who leave the path of uprightness, to walk in the ways of darkness.
These verses are saying that if you learn God's word and accept his wisdom, nobody will be able to knock you off the path of righteousness. Now, again, can somebody read Deuteronomy 6, verses 6 to 9?
these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach me diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be at frontets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the post of thy house and on thy gates.
God is telling you to diligently teach your kids His Word, to try to get them as interested in God's Word as you possibly can. You can't expect your child to be able to recite Bible verses if you haven't taught them anything. And now, the second principle to raising godly children is parents must discipline their children. When the word discipline is used, it often has a negative connotation, but the book of Hebrews tells us otherwise. Could someone please read Hebrews 12, verses 5 to 11?
And you have not forgotten the consolation which speaks to you like sons, saying, My son, do not be willing to neglect the discipline of the Lord, neither should you become weary while being rebuked by him. For whomever the Lord loves, he chastises, and every son whom he accepts, he discourages. Perseverance and discipline, God presents you to himself as sons. But what son is there whom his father does not correct? But if you are without that discipline, in which all have become sharers, then you are of adultery, and you are not sons. Continue. Then, too, we have certainly had the fathers of our flesh as instructors, and we have reverenced them. Should we not obey the fathers of spirit all the more, and so live? And indeed, for a few days, and according to their own wishes, they instructed us. But he does so to our benefit, so that we may receive a sanctification. Now, every discipline in the present time does not seem a gladness, of course, but a grief. But afterwards it will pay a most peaceful fruit of justice to those who become trained in it. Because of this, lift up your lazy hands and your lax knees, and straighten the path of your feet, so that no one, being lame, may wander astray, but instead may be healed. Pursue peace with everyone.
Verses 5 to 11 say that the Lord disciplines those he loves, and he accepts as his own. Verse 8 says, if you are not disciplined, then ye are bastards and not sons. If you really love your children, you will discipline them. The third principle for raising godly children is parents must avoid provoking their children to anger. This is very important. Doing this can cause their child to carry around anger with them that can affect their character and the decisions that they make. Colossians 3:21 says, fathers, provoke not your children, that they not be discouraged. This is so important, because you think that a comment you make is harmless, but some children can really be hurt by the words their parents say to them. And the fourth principle for raising godly children, Christian parents, you must really know your children. It is of great importance that you sit down and you try to be a part of your children's lives. Doing this will not only strengthen your relationship with you and your children, but it also strengthens your children's relationship with God. Can somebody please read Psalms 139, verses 1 to 13?
You have searched me, Lord. You have searched me, Lord, and you know me. You know when I sit and when I rise. You perceive my thoughts afar. You discern my going and my lying down. You are familiar with all my ways. Before a word is on my tongue, you, Lord, know completely. You hem me in behind and before, and you lay your hand upon me. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me, too lofty for me to attain. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in the depths, you are there. If I rise on the wings of the dawn, if I settle on the far side of the sea, even there your hand will guide me. Your right hand will hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness will hide me, the light become night around me, even the darkness will not be dark to you. The night will shine like the day, for darkness is as light to you. For you created my inmost being, you knit me together in my mother's womb.
Now this said, once you truly know God, there will be nothing that will be able to break your connection with Him. Nothing that will be able to lead you astray. You have to try, and as a Christian parent, you have to try your absolute best to get a connection as close to this as possible. It's so important that you really know your kids, that you know the kinds of friends that they have, you know the kinds of people that they are. And the fifth principle that Christian parents should follow is that they must model godliness. You must lead by example as a parent. Ephesians 5 verses 1 to 2 confirms this by saying, "Follow God's example, therefore, as dearly loved children, and walk in the way of love, just as Christ loved us and gave Himself up for us as a fragrant offering and sacrifice to God." Parents, God is showing you the way. He's giving you instructions on how to parent your kids. All you have to do is follow. This concludes the 5 principles of parenting godly children. Now, I'd like to refer back to the second lesson. Can somebody please read Proverbs 4, verses 11 to 12?
I have taught thee in the way of wisdom. I have led thee in the right path. When thou goest, thy steps shall not be straitened, and when thou runnest, thou shalt not stumble. Take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men.
That's enough from that. So, this is saying the parents, you have to teach your children in the way of wisdom and lead them down the right path. And as we know, the beginning of all wisdom is the fear of God. To lead your children down the right path means to teach them the right things and to make sure that they are prepared for their adult lives. Proverbs 22, verse 6 even says, "Start children off in the way they should go, and even in old age they will not turn from it." This means teach your kids right from a young age. They will use what you have taught them into their adult years. It is imperative that you teach them to do the right things. They are the future of this church. And when I say teach them the right things, I mean teach them to pray before they do anything important. I mean teach them not to gossip. But if you as a parent absolutely have to gossip, don't do it in front of your kids. So you don't corrupt their character. As a parent, your actions speak louder than words. You can't tell your kids to do something and then you do something else. They see that and then their brains are thinking it doesn't make sense. Why daddy told me to do this and then he's doing it? You have to lead by example. You have to show them the way. You have to be leaders. You can't expect your children to know what to do if they haven't been taught. And to wrap things up, in your households, bring up your children in the right way, in the way of the Lord. May the Lord bless His holy word. Amen.